Welcome back everybody to another episode of Sneaker Updates. This will be Sneaker Updates number 9. This has now become a weekly series, as you guys can see, and essentially in these videos, if you happen to be new to them, they basically just consist of a variety of different shoes, those of which may potentially include some Off-White and Nike shoes, perhaps some Yeezys, Jordans, and more. So with that intro out of the way, why don't we jump into the first update. Alright, so let's begin with some Nike and Off-White, since that's what you guys seem to like the most. Anyway, we got some fantastic news. Let's start off with the Off-White and Nike Serena Williams Blazer. So in my previous updates video from last week, I told you that the Serena Williams Blazer would release at the end of October. I told you guys to look out from the 23rd to the end of the month or so, just in case there was a shock drop, because at the time, I was expecting a shock drop. Now, however, it turns out that it is actually not going to be a shock drop, and in fact they will be releasing on October 25th for $130. So unfortunately, this release will most likely be a draw, which means that the majority of people won't have a high chance of copying in comparison to, say, a shock drop, where you and me, like people who actually know what they're doing, they would have a pretty great chance of copying the sneakers. But when it comes to draws, a lot of noobs have a chance to get them too, and it kind of limits the chance for most of us. So unfortunately, don't count your chickens before they hatch on this release. Anyway, like we've been seeing for the majority of Off-White sneakers, we should see a sneakers pass as well on the 24th, which is obviously the day before the 25th. For these, the cities will be New York City and Chicago. Regarding stock for these shoes, I've been hearing around 30 to 35,000 pairs. Obviously, this isn't significant at all when you compare this to the Off-White Blazers that just released from the Spooky Pack. One of those alone was around 40 to 45,000 pairs. So when you say that there's only one shoe releasing and there's 30 to 35,000 in total, oh boy, guys, get ready for those L's. Of course, we're gonna try our best though. Anyway, this is for the United States. However, since Japan actually did drop these a couple of weeks ago or so, I do believe that Europe and Canada should eventually be getting them as well. It's very possible that they will be getting them on the same date. However, I can't confirm this for you as of now. As we edge closer to the release date, of course, I'm gonna keep you guys 100% updated. So if you happen to be new, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications just to stay 100% updated on these shoes and really any shoe that I'm going to be mentioning in the future. So yeah, if anything changes, I'll be sure to let you know. But with that, let's move on to some more Nike and Off-White sneakers. So lots of you were asking about the pink and black Off-White Zoom Flies, and just to re-emphasize on this, because I actually mentioned this in the last video, they are now pushed to November. They are no longer releasing in October. They were initially slated for the 13th or so, but unfortunately they were pushed back. Would have been a great BCA shoe, but yeah, I guess they decided to move it back. But anyway, getting into the good news, let's kick it off with the Air Force Ones. So if you guys recall, about 2 months ago or so, I made a video regarding upcoming Off-White and Nike releases, and the great news is that almost all of these are confirmed now. We have official images for these first few. We have a close look at the black Off-White Air Force Ones. Now, these are very reminiscent of the MoMA Off-White Air Force Ones, if you guys remember those. But of course, there are some major differences. For instance, the material used on the shoe is completely different. Not only that, but the swoosh is not shiny. The laces are different as well. There's a ton of things that are different with this shoe. But most importantly, guys, these aren't coming alone. There's actually another Air Force One that we'll be releasing, and that is the Volt Air Force One. Obviously, as you guys could see, this comes in a lime green or a bright yellow colorway, whatever you want to refer to it as. Basically, these will be releasing in mid-November for $170, and the same goes for the black pair as well. They should most likely be releasing on the same date, but of course, I'll keep you guys updated as we edge closer to that release date. Now moving on to some other fantastic news, we have the Off-White Air Max 90 now confirmed. This pair will be releasing in mid to late December most likely, and of course, I did mention in my video that we would also see not only these, but a Desert Ore as well. Now unfortunately, what I'm seeing right now isn't really something I like, and I don't think a lot of you guys like this colorway either. I was expecting expecting the majority of this shoe to be a lot more vibrant, other than the orange part of the shoe, obviously. I was expecting it to be somewhat of a light tan color in comparison to like this dark green color. I'm not really a fan of this, but perhaps it will look different. This actually isn't official, so this is just potentially what it can look like, and we probably will see these releasing alongside the black pair, just like how we'll see the Volt and black Air Force Ones being released. Alright, so that'll conclude it for Nike and Off-White, but with that, why don't we move on to some Yeezys? So for everyone asking for the SESAME 350 V2 date, we got it. So according to Yeezy Mafia, it will be November 23rd, aka Black Friday. So the retail will luckily stay at $220, and obviously guys, it shouldn't be too difficult to cop these. Obviously stock isn't going to be as great as the cream, but regarding these, they are going to be rather still simple to cop if you're using the multiple people jig. Obviously the more chrome users the merrier. Honestly, just don't stress for this drop, we should all be okay. Moving on, we now have official images for the Yeezy 700 Mauve, but the real news is actually that stock will be less than what we saw with the third release for the Wave Runners. Again guys, I'll re-emphasize, just the third release alone, stock is going to be less than that. If this changes, of course, I'll be sure to let you guys know, but basically this means that despite a high retail of $300, and despite them being slightly less sought after because they're not an OG pair, also to most people this isn't as desirable as a colorway, still I do think that these are going to be profitable simply because they're way more limited. Keep in mind that the September 15th release for the Wave Runners was not the only release. There was already a lot of pairs circulating out there, and they were still profitable. Granted, it wasn't a ton of profit, but they were still profitable. Moving on to the next update, Kanye actually gave away some pairs to some kids, which honestly was really sweet, but the funny thing is that he was able to get these kids their pairs before people from Yeezy Supply, who ordered obviously a month ago, were able to get theirs. I didn't really think that they will be able to handle this many pairs. I mean, the stock numbers were ridiculous, and Yeezy Supply alone is terrible at shipping, so hopefully you did stay away from those. But for anyone else out there, I do feel your pain. I personally had a pair of blue tints completely lost, never even delivered to my house, and I never got a refund, and no communication with customer service at all, so I totally feel your pain on that side. Moving on, we have in-hand pictures of authentic static 350s. Before we saw a fake pair where I believe that the laces weren't 3M material. This is completely 3M, and this is what we're going to be seeing. So obviously there is two versions. There's the 3M version and then the non-3M version. This is the first in-hand look we're getting at the 3M version. We already saw the non-3M version. Anyway, that will conclude it for Yeezys. With that, why don't we move on to some Jordans? So to kick it off with the Jordans, we got our first look at the Travis Scott 1s. So before these release, I believe that we should actually be seeing they release for the Travis Scott Jordan 4s in purple. But of course, if anything changes, I'll keep you guys updated on that. Moving on, the Jordan 4 tattoos are releasing on November 11th as a China exclusive, but then they will have a global release on December 29th, according to J23 app. And then also from J23 app, we saw that Jordan 12 Gym Reds will be releasing, and they're completely red. Obviously, if you're into that all red vibe, this would be for you. This was definitely bigger back like 3 or 4 years ago, but you know, in my opinion, I think that they're still pretty awesome. They might be difficult to pull off, but anyway, they're releasing also Black Friday, just like the Sesames, for $190. And finally, moving on to the next Jordan update regarding the Platinum 11s that are going to be releasing on the 27th for $220. I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew when you were purchasing these, it's not patent leather. This was something I wasn't aware of when I first viewed the picture, just because it's so subtle you can't really tell. It's actually nubuck, not patent leather. So before you purchase, I just wanted to let you guys know, just so you don't get the pair and you're completely surprised. Anyway, moving on, we actually got this news a little while ago, but I completely forgot to mention it, and that is for the Jordan 1 Rookie of the Year. We got official images for them. Not only that, but they are going to be releasing on November 17th for $160. Guys, all I can say on these is definitely do not sleep on these. Not only are they going to be extremely profitable, but of course, if you want a personal pair, they're super clean and they're definitely going to sell out. So you definitely won't want to sleep on these because they will be gone rather quickly. Anyway, moving on to some miscellaneous releases with Jordan and Yeezy and Off-White out of the way. Why don't we kick it off with November 30th? What is that, you may ask? Well, for $180, we have 3 Ultra Boost 1.0s releasing. I believe one is the cream, and the other 2 are a black multicolor colorway, and then we have a white multicolor colorway. Honestly, I probably will be going for one of these. I wouldn't mind having an Ultra Boost 1.0 in my collection, because I don't have any as of now, unfortunately. But also on that same date, we have the Inspiration Pack from the Human Race NMDs releasing. We have 2 colorways releasing on November 30th for $250. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of these, but if you guys like them, hey, feel free to cop them. I just think that I really need to love the shoe to be paying $250 for it. But anyway, shout out to all my sources: Yeezy Mafia, Solinks, J23 app, Sneaker Bar Detroit. With that though, I will conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate your time. Feel free to subscribe and turn on post notifications to stay updated on any of the shoes that I mentioned today, or any shoes that I'll be mentioning in the future. And of course, feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, if you perhaps learned a thing or two or whatever. Of course, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.
The F to the double O, even the T. Get that big foot away from me. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot on my foot, yeah!
Why are you hurting me with your foot? Can't you find somewhere else to keep it put? Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot on my foot, yeah!
And mom always told me not to play when another man's foot is in the way.